All right, so today we're going to jump into the ancient book of Micah. And look, this is not your average history lesson. Think of it more like a high-stakes courtroom drama, a divine lawsuit where God himself puts an entire nation on trial. It's intense.
And wow, does this case open with a bang? I mean, listen to this accusation. This isn't just some minor complaint, right? We're talking about a super graphic indictment. The prophet is accusing the leaders of being predators, not protectors, of literally devouring the very people they were supposed to be looking after. This one verse just completely sets the stage for what's to come.
So who is the one delivering this bombshell message? It's a prophet named Micah. And you've got to understand the context here. He's speaking way back in the 8th century BC, and things are, well, they're a mess. Society is in a deep moral freefall. And his warning, it isn't just for one city. Nope. He's calling out two entire kingdoms, Israel up in the north and Judah down in the south.
And here's something that's really key to understanding this whole thing. Micah's message wasn't just, a one-and-done deal. He was prophesying across the reigns of several different kings. And what does that tell you? It shows that these warnings weren't out of the blue. God was incredibly patient, sending this message over and over for decades, while the society just kept sliding deeper and deeper into corruption.
Okay, so this brings us back to that core idea I mentioned. The whole book is framed like a formal lawsuit. It's an incredible picture. God is the plaintiff, the one bringing the charges. And the witnesses? Get this. It's the mountains and the hills. They're called to the stand because they've been there forever. These unchanging observers of the promises God's people made and then shattered. The charge is basically breach of contract on a cosmic scale.
All right, let's get into the details of the prosecution's case. What exactly were the charges? What did this nation do that was so bad it warranted this kind of divine lawsuit?
At its heart, the whole conflict boils down to this really stark contrast. On one side, you've got God's track record of total faithfulness. I mean, he rescued them from slavery in Egypt, protected them from their enemies, gave them amazing leaders like Moses and Aaron. And then, you look at the other side. Israel's response? They turn around and oppress the poor. They start worshiping idols, and their courts become a place where justice is for sale to the highest bidder. The disconnect is just staggering.
And the list of charges, the indictment, it paints a picture of a society that's just rotting from the inside out. And we're not talking about a few bad apples here. This was systemic. You had leaders literally lying in bed at night dreaming up ways to do evil and then getting up and doing it. In the marketplace, dishonest scales, fraud everywhere. The rich were violently stealing homes and fields from the poor, robbing them of their inheritance. Even the spiritual leaders, the prophets, were on the take, preaching whatever message paid the bills. It got so bad, so pervasive, that the most fundamental building block of society, the family, was completely falling apart. Just total betrayal.
So after all that evidence is laid out, the lawsuit moves to the next phase, the verdict. And as you can probably guess, the consequences are just as severe as the crimes.
And the verdict comes down with this chilling finality. God basically says, because of what you've done, I am going to strike you and make you sick. There's no ambiguity, no wiggle room. The judgment is a direct, unavoidable result of their actions.
What's fascinating is how the judgment unfolds. It's like this perfect poetic justice. Every sin has a perfectly fitting consequence. So you exploited the poor? Well, now your own prayers won't be met with silence. You listened to false prophets who promised you peace and light? Okay, now God's going to plunge you into spiritual darkness. You built your fancy houses on injustice and greed? You'll plant your crops, but you won't get to eat the harvest. It's a perfect the punishment fits the crime scenario.
Okay, so at this point, things look incredibly bleak. It seems like the story's over, right? A guilty verdict, a sentence of total destruction. But then, just when you think it's all doom and gloom, Micah hits us with this absolutely stunning plot twist. Turns out, the end of the nation is not the end of the story.
Right out of the ashes of that fiery judgment, there's this incredible, surprising promise of grace. God says that he won't completely wipe everyone out. Instead, he's going to gather a remnant, the faithful few who are left, and he's going to put them together and care for them just like a shepherd cares for his flock. It's this amazing moment where hope just punches right through the despair.
But this, of course, raises a huge question. The current leaders are totally corrupt. They're the ones being judged. The whole nation is being ripped apart. So where in the world is a true, righteous leader going to come from to lead this little group of survivors?
Well, the answer to that question comes in what is probably one of the most famous prophecies ever written. It points to a totally new kind of ruler, coming from a place no one would ever expect.
See, this new ruler isn't going to come from the big, powerful capital city of Jerusalem. I mean, that place had become the very heart of the corruption. No, hope is going to spring from Bethlehem, a tiny, seemingly insignificant little town. It's like God is sending a crystal clear message. My plan for restoration, it's going to start with the humble, not the powerful.
And here it is, the prophecy itself. A ruler will come from Bethlehem. But listen to this next part, because this is what's absolutely mind-blowing. It says his origins are from of old, from everlasting. Micah isn't just talking about another king in a long line of kings. He's talking about someone eternal. This is a game changer.
And the kingdom this ruler brings in? It's the polar opposite of the world Micah was living in. The old way was all about swords and spears, about corrupt leaders who used their people, about constant war. But this new kingdom? It's a kingdom of plowshares and pruning hooks. It's a kingdom of peace led by a shepherd who actually feeds and protects his flock. A total reversal.
So this whole incredible legal drama, you've got the charges, the guilty verdict, this amazing promise of a new king, it's all been building up to one single massive question. What does God actually want from us?
And it's a question the people themselves were asking. You can almost hear the desperation in their voices. What will it take to make things right with God? Do we just need more religion, more rituals? Should we bring thousands of rams, rivers of oil? Should we do the unthinkable and sacrifice our own children? They're asking, what's the price tag for forgiveness?
And God's answer just cuts right through all that noise, all that religious confusion. He basically says, I've already told you what's good. It's not about bigger and better sacrifices. It's not about complicated ceremonies. It's about a changed heart that leads to a changed life. And it boils down to three simple, profound things. Do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
So at the end of the day, what this whole lawsuit reveals is a God who isn't looking for payment. He's not trying to extract something from his people. He's trying to restore a partnership with them. That's what he's always wanted, a real relationship built on a foundation of justice, mercy, and humility.
And this is the incredible final twist. The book doesn't end with the bang of a gavel and a final judgment. It ends with a song, a hymn of pure wonder. The final verdict isn't condemnation, it's mercy, just astonishing mercy. Micah is just in awe of this God who doesn't just ignore sin, but who pardons it, conquers it, and throws it into the depths of the sea. The judge in the courtroom becomes the Redeemer. It's beautiful.
And that really leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? Here's this ancient text, this divine lawsuit that so perfectly diagnoses the sickness in a society, injustice, corruption at the top, religion that's all for show. So if a book that's almost 3,000 years old can feel that relevant, what does that say about how timeless these problems are? And maybe more importantly, what does it say about the timeless power of the solution it offers? To do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly.